Hello, all you fine people out there and not so fine. Regardless of how fine you are, I hope this message finds you healthy and well. As promised, I wanted to cover some topics today regarding the dangers of comfort, goal setting, and the most effective ways to do that in order to get ahead. There's a tale from Greek mythology about a man named Sisyphus. Now, Sisyphus was punished by Zeus in the underworld to push a boulder up a hill for eternity. And every time that Sisyphus would near the top of the hill, the boulder would roll back down. So this story is basically equating hell to a fruitless labor, which ties directly into one of the topics I wanted to cover, which is the dangers of comfort and the security that it brings. People easily fall victim to what is comfortable in their relationships, in their work, in their activities. This leads to stagnation, ultimately, which, much like still water, bacteria builds over time, decay. It also makes them more fearful and reluctant to leave those situations. And so they remain, perpetuating the same bad habits, thoughts, behaviors, that are keeping them in the same place that they are comfortable in, that they are more secure in, maybe less stressed, but not happy. So why do people do it? Because it's easier, because it gets them by, because it's a convenient way to avoid dealing with things such as actually pursuing what they truly desire and deserve. To do that requires self-love. It takes work, and work can be stressful and challenging. But we mustn't forget that enduring those very challenges is what leads to our growth. So how to take steps out of those comfort zones and begin pursuing what we truly desire, not simply wishing for them. Essentially, how do we effectively set goals? So I found that the best way to do that is to set small, undaunting, realistic goals that you can actually move towards. Don't put the cart before the horse and set goals that you don't have the means to even pursue. It has to be your own goals, not anybody else's goals, not your parents, not your partners, your goals. That's how we actually feel fulfilled once we accomplish them, right? Don't get me wrong, it's okay to set a big goal so long as you are actually moving towards it, right? So the key here is forward movement towards whatever the goal is. So there is an analogy that I put together called the river analogy. So the river analogy, initially it was a cliff, but I thought, it's a little too extreme. If you fall, you die. So we're going to go with the river. So here's a rampant river. The only way to get across it is to set stones in the water. So how are you going to go about setting those stones? One stone at a time, one achievable stone at a time. You want to give yourself the best chance of getting across with the least amount of worry and risk possible. So a couple examples of this would be, for me personally, leaving Starbucks. I worked at Starbucks for 4 years. I didn't want to work at Starbucks anymore. It served its purpose. No offense to my friends who still work at Starbucks. But I wanted to be able to earn enough as a personal trainer so that I don't have to work at Starbucks anymore. And I wasn't just going to outright quit and leave my job. So I dedicated a small amount of time each day to building my own website and making my own business cards. An undaunting amount of time, even like 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever I could afford mentally and emotionally. And little by little, I got a few inquiries. And I promised myself that once I got 5, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 5 client inquiries, that I would put my 2 weeks in and leave Starbucks. And eventually that's what happened. Another example of this would be, someone that wants to lose 100 pounds or 50 pounds. It's like, no, how about you make that 5 pounds or even 3 pounds? And instead of saying, I want to work out 5 days a week for 2 hours a day, make that 2 times a week, 3 times at most for, 30 minutes a day. And break that 30 minutes up into 15-minute time intervals. Make it small, manageable, undaunting things that, you're not stressing about doing and that you'll actually move towards. So humans are the only animals who live by time, not in it. Yes, we were given heightened levels of intelligence, but with that freedom of thought comes the necessity to regulate it. It's all too easy for us to lose ourselves to the past with self-talk such as, I used to be this fit, I used to be this successful. When I was younger, I used to have that energy, that drive. As we know, dwelling in the past begets depression because obviously we can't go back there. We can't relive it. What happened, happened. So oftentimes that creates a lot of self-pity. There's no positivity or motivation that can come from that. And we could also lose ourselves to the future and tell ourselves things like, what if this doesn't work out? What if I fail? What if I fall ill? Or maybe waiting for the perfect time for something to happen before making a move. That's a common one. So grounding ourselves in the present and really consciously making the effort to stay there, bring ourselves back to it whenever we find that our mind strays either forward or back. Now, interestingly enough, the word animal comes from the Greek word anima, which means the soul. So if anything, I say that we should be striving to be more in tune with our animalistic selves, living more in the present, being guided by our visceral feelings, what drives us, what gives us passion and fulfillment. We need to strive to do things that are meaningful to us, and from that, happiness will come. So to bring it all together here, just remember that it's never too late to begin pursuing what you truly desire and what you truly deserve. There is always a starting point, and there should never be any shame in asking for help along the way. So set the appropriate goals so that you can actually move towards them. Allow yourself the possibility to grow and to flourish in this life.